Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A Happy New Year and welcome to you all. This staff address, regrettably, is for the first time a pre-recorded event due to my having to leave for America immediately following our second interim announcement in the city. I'm sorry not to be able on this occasion to answer your questions personally and live, but I shall be happy to respond to any questions which you might put in writing or at my next staff address. My staff address today relates to the announcement yesterday of our unaudited second interim results for the 12 months ending 31st October 1989, which you may have seen reported in the press. In keeping with certain other ITV companies, we have changed our accounting reference date from 31st October to 31st December to align TVS's financial year with Exchequer levy returns and the expiry of the current franchise. I'll just recap on the highlights we announced yesterday. TVS Entertainment yesterday reported profits before exceptional item and tax for the period of £16.9 million, a reduction of 35.2% over the 1988 figure of £26.1 million. This regrettable decrease is due to the loss incurred by MTM. TVS Television has, however, continued to perform very well, with its contribution to trading profits increasing by 15.9% to £28.4 million. Turnover is up by 26.1% to £281.9 million, including a good performance in net advertising revenue, or NAR. NAR increased by 9.5% to £182.1 million, compared with an industry average increase of 9.3%. TVS's share is now 11.37% of total net advertising revenue, as compared to its 1988 share of 11.34%. This share ranks TVS Television as the third largest of the ITV companies in terms of NAR. Again, a remarkable performance from the sales team, who have delivered our 8th consecutive annual increase in NAR. Like other ITV companies, however, we are uncertain as to the rate of growth of NAR in the year ahead. As we announced, we have agreed in principle to form a joint airtime sales operation with London Weekend Television, with the aim of further reducing costs through the pooling of resources and elimination of duplication. Sales of programmes have also increased by 104.1% to £90.6 million, compared to £44 million in 1988. This rise is due to the inclusion of programmes sold by MTM for the first time for the full 12 months, and much higher sales by TVS Television. TVS Television has had its best year ever in terms of placing programmes on the ITV network, which it does by way of the Flexi Pool, and therefore on merit alone. Indeed, for the 88-89 transmission year, TVS was by far the largest supplier of programmes through the Flexi Pool, a tribute to the creative strength of our programme-making team. TVS Television's programmes sold during the period included such highlights as The Murderers Among Us, which won 4 Ace Awards on Sunday in Los Angeles. The Heroes, of course, Endless Game, Art of the Western World, Back Home, Fantasy Creatures, Rules of Engagement, Tugs, The Ruth Rendell Mysteries, Gentlemen and Players, Mr. Majika, and many, many others. We remain very concerned, however, at the balance of payments in the networking arrangements. Fortunately, the Home Office and the IBA are as concerned as we are to achieve an equitable solution. We understand that David Mellor, the Minister for Broadcasting, would like to see a long-term plan ready by the end of February for discussion by the Standing Committee on the Broadcasting Bill. We are doing all we can to make sure that that process produces the right solution. TVS is also one of the most significant makers of regional programmes and produces over 750 hours of regional news, current affairs and other material. During the past year, TVS Television opened an additional news opt-out service at Poole to add to the 3 distinct services it provides to the Southampton, Maidstone and Reading areas. A further news opt-out will be opened this year at Heathfield. These opt-outs provide viewers with news services even more closely tailored to their local needs. We have continued to invest in regional programming at a time of profound uncertainty because we believe it will continue to be our unique selling proposition with our viewers and, of course, will be a highly important part of our application for the award of the next franchise. We believe that the quality hurdle envisaged in the broadcast bill will consist of the current quality and quantity of regional programmes. I am pleased to say that our news magazine for the South East, Coast to Coast, continues to be the highest rated news magazine programme in the UK. I have been concerned that people elsewhere, and especially in the press, do not know about the breadth, depth and overall excellence of our regional output. To remedy this misconception about the company, I showed a tape yesterday which I want you to see as well, so that everyone in the company is fully aware of the quality of our output and the resources behind it.
TVS Television, the ITV contractor for the south and southeast of England. As our franchise requires, we operate from two fully equipped television centres, Southampton and Maidstone, at the heart of each of our dual regions. We're now entering a new era of competition, and we are reacting to it now, investing in news and regional programming, the kind of programming other channels cannot provide. The two separate editions of Coast to Coast, produced each weekday night from the television centres in Southampton and Maidstone, and the split 7-day rolling news bulletins are the flagships of our regional output. Coast to Coast is one of the most popular news magazines in Britain, but according to a recent survey, 72% of people in the south would like more local and regional news, and we intend to provide it. Following a recent experiment with Coast to Coast Late, TVS Television plans to expand its regional news coverage at 10:30. The opening of the regional news centres in Brighton, Poole and Reading, plus our new Westminster operation, have given the two newsrooms their greater firepower. We've already introduced separate news bulletins for the Thames Valley and the South Coast in the Southampton edition. This year it'll be Maidstone's turn with separate news bulletins for Kent and Sussex. These new opt-out services will be in addition to the 68 regional bulletins we already transmit each week, all without a single increase in our team of journalists. We already spend more than £16 million a year on our news operation, 16 million that goes on the screen. Electronic news gathering with a mixture of two-man and, the first for a British ITV company in 1988, one-man crewing has meant a wider coverage of the region at a lower price. A news computer will link all our news gathering centres and on-the-road crews, part of a 12-month drive to create the most modern and efficient news operation in Britain.
News may provide our flagship programmes, but they're just part of more than 750 hours of regional programming produced by TVS Television each year. Facing South is an award-winning current affairs programme which takes a tough investigative stance. Protection rackets run by Chinese triads, illegal importers of pornography and polluters of our rivers and countryside were exposed in the last series. Countryways and nature and wildlife specials present a gentler and more reflective view of the South. And there are a variety of programmes designed to help viewers with aspects of their daily lives. We keep viewers informed about what our politicians are up to. The new TVS Westminster studio helps other ITV companies to keep in touch with their MPs just as closely as TVS, since broadcasts began from the Commons last year. We make certain we reflect one of the most vibrant and richest art scenes in Britain, with trips to the opera, stately homes, and conversation with prominent figures in the arts. TVS is planning a variety of new arts programs, a showcase for student directors. New popular music and comedy shows will make up a lively variety of competitive programs.
We provide a wide coverage of sports, Because TVS have a sports team who don't think sport begins and ends with visits to the South's Football League grounds. Rallycross, Supercross, athletics, and ski tips for the biggest concentration of skiers in Britain are among their regular features. Plus, leisure programs to reflect every taste, both usual and unusual. Not surprisingly, we've built a reputation as the television company that specializes in sailing events. Our first challenge was the America's Cup in Australia. Now our greatest challenge, coordinating and directing the coverage of the Whitbread Round the World race from its start in Southampton across all the oceans of the globe.
TVS Television's involvement in the region doesn't just exist on the screen. Since December '81, the TVS Charitable Trust has been working to benefit the community. Each year, hundreds of projects are helped with awards of between £500 and £5,000. So far, the Trust has given in excess of £3 million. On screen, the TVS Community Unit has become directly involved with the viewer with projects like Action on Drugs, which resulted in the setting up of a separate trust to fight drug abuse. Each week, community service announcements are produced and transmitted free of charge by TVS. To help the deaf and hard of hearing, TVS is still the only ITV company offering a regional news service on Oracle.
So that's TVS Television, a company that's used technology to become one of the most efficient producers of quality television in Europe. A company investing in one of the country's leading regional news operations and a lively variety of other local programming. A company confident in its excellent record of service to the South and South East and ready for the challenges ahead.
The quality of our production output has been unaffected by the significant reduction in production resources which we have undertaken at TVS in the past year. As I said in my Christmas message to you, our voluntary severance scheme has achieved its aims. This has resulted in the exceptional item of £3.2 million. The lowering of our cost base, together with the savings anticipated from our new sales arrangements when they are finalised, will yield substantial benefits over the remainder of the contract period. Our remaining resources are sufficient to service all of our production needs, both network and regional, and we will also market any spare capacity to independent producers exploiting our proximity to London. The appointment of a marketing director to spearhead the marketing of TVS facilities is expected to be announced shortly. The new franchise allocation procedures in the draft broadcasting bill will favour those applicants with significant broadcasting expertise and those who pay close attention to costs. TVS has an excellent record in regional production, second to none in ITV, and its network production has steadily increased in quality and quantity. In order to start planning our franchise application, I have formed a small franchise team consisting of the people who will reflect on all aspects of the future of the franchise and write our application or applications. However, you all play an important role in the well-being of the company through your day-to-day activities, whether making regional or network programs or selling advertising or supporting those other vital aspects of the company's business. And since many of you are shareholders, you will also benefit in that way from the retention of our franchise. Looking back at our record of operation, I feel very strongly that we have an excellent chance of retaining our franchise. We are, of course, lobbying MPs, in particular those on the committee, to improve the bill, but we are determined to retain our franchise regardless of the final shape of the broadcasting bill. Before going on to talk about MTM, I'd like to announce that this year's performance by TVS Television has allowed us to increase the profit share to each eligible employee to £1,250, and, as usual, you may elect to take this bonus either in shares or in cash. As I said earlier, the trading loss incurred by MTM has been the cause of our disappointing results, and this is primarily due to MTM's domestic syndication sales. The main cause of the softness of the secondary domestic syndication market in the US in 1989 was the poor advertising revenue results at many stations for 1988. MTM further suffered from the negative reception to one-hour dramatic series, which are well represented in its product portfolio. The sales management of the company did not accurately assess those trends when monitoring their sales budget. A further contributor to MTM's poor trading performance was the lack of success of Clara's Heart, a feature film whose box office results were well below expectations. In addition, the cancellation of 2 network series, Tattingers and Annie Maguire, meant that overhead and development costs on those series were entirely written off. Faced with this situation, we have not stood idle. In the last 4 months, we have taken decisive corrective action. We have, for instance, eliminated any further speculative development of feature films, as we are concentrating on MTM's core business of network production. We have also streamlined overheads, reducing them by some 15% thus far. We have recruited a new sales head, Kevin Tannehill, to develop a new and more aggressive strategy with regards to library product, both in the domestic syndication market and cable. Kevin Tannehill was formerly at Group W Productions, where he was responsible for the successful marketing of many first-run and off-network products in syndication. He has already substantially recharged the sales department with some new staff and some staff changes and new incentives. Using his background, he is launching a first-run syndication product featuring the Galloping Gourmet this week at NatP, in part to stimulate the interest of the existing library. If initial interest from the station managers is high enough, we will produce the show. As you may recall from previous staff addresses, we sent Tim Buxton over to MTM in April of last year to oversee international sales and productions. As a result, we have reorganized MTM's international sales with the closure of Gilson in Los Angeles and the creation of MTM International here in London. We felt that the sale of MTM's catalogue would be considerably enhanced by a direct presence in Europe, especially at a time of considerable growth in the sales potential of US product. We have also been able to realise cost efficiencies by aligning MTM International alongside Telso, TVS Television's foreign distribution arm, which also represents a number of major independent producers here in the UK. MTM International is headed by Greg Phillips, who was formerly the Managing Director Europe for CBS International. We have already seen an increase in sales activity both for the library in this area and in pre-sales of new MTM series, which are important to our policy of minimising deficits on new productions. As you may be aware, new network production is made at a deficit. That is, the licence fee paid by the network does not fully cover the production costs. The producer must recover this deficit through the international and US syndication sales. To keep the financial pressures on MTM to a reasonable level, and in view of the syndication market today, we have established a policy of limiting deficits on new shows to specific levels, with the aim of achieving full recovery of deficits on international sales alone, and achievement of profitability coming from US syndication and cable sales. To reduce deficits further, we are developing a number of joint ventures with partners who share the upfront risks of development and production in return for a share of the profits further down in the cycle of exploitation. We now have a joint venture in place with other independent producers, as well as some of the network arrangements. A similar arrangement is in place for City, a new half-hour comedy series starring Valerie Harper for CBS, which is a co-production with that network. Despite a difficult trading year, 1990 will be one of MTM's best creative years ever. Here with me to talk to you about MTM's new network series is Peter Grad, the president of MTM Television, the television production division of MTM. Peter, over to you.
Thank you, James. I'm delighted to be here to present to the rest of the TVS family our new slate of production for this year. But first, I'd like to congratulate you all on the wonderful productions that you've done. The quality is incredibly great, and congratulations on your 4 ACE Awards. I think that's terrific. I'd also like to say, after the very tough year that MTM has been through, that we appreciate the support from the TVS management that they've given. I can't imagine any other company being as supportive as they've been, and I'm very grateful for it. MTM has had its best year in terms of production. We're going to have 4 shows in production, FM for NBC, City for CBS, the Newhart Show returning on CBS, and Capital News for ABC.
Thank you, Peter. So after a tough year, MTM is attacking 1990 with new vigour and direction, and of course the new shows have boosted everyone's morale. Finally, corporate activity during the year was quite considerable. As you know, we disposed of our exhibition and publishing interests to Reed International, which also bought independent television publications, the publisher of TV Times. The gain to TVS arising from these transactions is included in the extraordinary items, which amount to £30.4 million after the provision for corporation tax. So thank you for your attention, and as I said earlier, I'm sorry I'm not able to answer your questions personally on this occasion. Please put them in writing, and I shall get back to you as soon as I can. My parting thought to you all is to remember what a great company we are all part of, and we should all relish the thought of the exciting challenges which lie ahead. Thank you.